Hello, and welcome to the 12th video in my Punishing Graven lore series. Today we'll be going over the 11th chapter of the main story, Nona Ouroboros. Previously in chapter 10, Grey Raven went down to Earth to destroy the remnants of the escaped heterocore, now called the Rail Heterozygote. Their search takes them to Aslam, where they meet the heads of the ACA in an attempt to negotiate for the core's destruction. We aid Sophia in clearing the train of Corrupted when we once again face the heterozygote to little success. We also follow Bianca as she boards the train, finds Lucia, and negotiates the deal for Babylonia. We destroy the heterozygote and learn the entire ordeal was a cover for Jamila's true plan. All ends well, and the incident is resolved when Commandant's signal suddenly vanishes from the train completely. Commandant has vanished from the train, and Grey Raven is in panic. They know his radar signal is being jammed, and by the efficiency of the jamming, they presume it is being caused by someone familiar with Babylonia's systems. Ashton and Changyu appear, speculating if it could have been Ashler, citing his recent disappearance. Changyu says otherwise, having recognized the smell of a typical knockout drug. He says Commandant was likely taken by psycho boaters, likely referring to the Nighter. Just then, Lee disables the jamming and learns Commandant is being transported to a port in City 09, and when he tries to search for more information, he is only able to pull up the name Kowloon Chamber of Commerce. Picking up with Commandant, who is inside of a warehouse, he has a flashback to a conversation he had on the train. Hassan tells him that he will be going on a temporary solo mission, and getting kidnapped is all part of the plan. Back in the warehouse, Commandant checks his condition and feels a metal collar on his neck, and touching it creates a simulated mind space. He looks around the room and peeks out of a window, seeing the ocean and confirming he's on a ship. Hearing the guards outside, Commandant gets an idea to escape. He uses the collar to connect to one of the mechanoid guards and searches its mind for the access key. On Babylonia, we see a shadowed figure talking to someone about the goods obtained from Actylith, when it cuts to another conversation between unknown voices, speaking about the ship and a trade show that is soon to happen. Grey Raven arrives at the port and waits for the ship to dock when the three lose connection to Commandant. Lee notes that the connection was intentionally disabled, and Commandant is likely not in any immediate danger. Liv detects a large amount of biological signals, and the ship pulls into port. As it docks, the three follow Commandant's mind beacon and board the ship. On the ship, they see a bustling night market full of stalls and crowds of humans. Liv walks over to one of the stalls to speak with a vendor who tries to offer her his wares, simple bags of harvested organs. Noticing his poor condition, Liv tries to treat him when he lashes out and tries to pull her closer, but only manages to lurch himself forward. He realizes Liv is a construct and tries calling the Pulau crew when Commandant arrives to stop him, and Grey Raven, now reunited, deals with the incoming enemies. We fight our way through the crew members when the ground begins to shake, Lee instantly knowing this means the ship has left the port. We head to investigate and see the ship is too far gone to swim back to shore. Since the ship is a marketplace, we know it will stop eventually and plan to hide out on the ship until it pulls back into another port. We hide in the ship's central warehouse, and Liv scans the guards to try and find more information. She learns that none of the humans or mechanoids have been infected, and all seems well on the surface, but we know there is more happening in the shadows. We send Lucia out to collect memory units off the guards, so Lee can decode them and learn more about the ship. Lee gets into the memory shells and doesn't find much useful information, but he does learn about the ship's command hierarchy. Humans have the lowest authority, followed by mechanoids, and then constructs that head the crew divisions, and finally, the ship's main control system on top. The mechanoids who attacked us earlier were part of the Pulau crew, headed by Pulau, a member of the Kowloon crew. Additionally, all the mechanoids operate off virtual minds, with a limited degree of autonomy and consciousness recall, as well as every machine being connected like a hive mind. Commandant realizes this means that our position is already exposed, as other machines have seen the records of our battle and infiltration. Commandant assumes the area they retreated to was most likely left open on purpose as a trap, and right on time, Pulau appears and opens the container. We try to fight back against the guards, but are eventually subdued. Before any real damage is done, Pulau orders the mechanoids to stop attacking and leads us to a safer area where we can speak in private. We stop and do formal introductions, with Pulau saying Yazi won't be able to spy on us, and Chao Fang will erase our data from the systems, seeming to indicate that not all of the Kowloon crew were on the same side. Pulau says the reason Grey Raven was lured to the ship is because she needs our help and goes over the ship's situation. She confirms the ship is the Nighter, and it was once a KCC cargo vessel until the outbreak of the virus. The KCC was once a powerful organization based out of East Asia that held as much influence as the world government, and the ship was sent out to rescue as many citizens as it could, but someone brought an AI called Hwashu aboard, and it began to enslave the ship's inhabitants using the same type of collars as the one Commandant has on now. The collars force everyone, human and machine, to obey Hwashu's command and prevents anyone from damaging the ship. Hwashu has convinced the residents of the Nighter that it is the only safe location in the world, and uses this as leverage to have them slave their lives away to stay on board. Commandant asks why Pulau and the other Kowloon constructs don't revolt, but they also have virtual collars built into their frames, and are considered nothing more than tools and spare vessels. Commandant questions what Pulau meant by vessels, and she clarifies that Hwashu wants to become human, and uses the trade fair to find worthy constructs. This will be the time to act and separate Hwashu from Kowloon's leader, Chu. Then we can use Chu to gain access to Hwashu's control terminal and destroy it. But first, we have to get into the trade show, which means presenting a suitable construct. At the trade fair, it is Lucia's turn to appear on stage, and Pulau absolutely cooked, making Lucia quite the looker. Chu makes a brief appearance, and Pulau explains that she is being forced to pick a vessel for Hwashu, and during the mission, other members of the Kowloon crew will likely stand in our way, chief among them being Yazi, who personally guards Chu. The announcer calls, and Lucia begins her performance, seeming to capture Chu's attention. In another area of the stage, we see that Chrome has infiltrated the ship with his entry into the fair. While his entry goes on stage, Chrome eliminates the security mechs positioned inside the crowd. As the fair comes to an end, all the contestants come back on stage, and Commandant notices Chrome in the crowd. Chrome connects and says he and his team will help create an opening to capture Chu, when by some stroke of unholy power, Commandant looks at the blonde woman on stage and sees the all too familiar face of our greatsword swinging goofball. Kamui attacks Yazi, and Chrome leaps out of the crowd, swinging his scythe at Lucia, giving her the boost needed to land by and capture Chu. With Chu in our possession, Pulau appears and tells her the entire plan to free the ship of Hwashu's control. Pulau has her take us to the ship's control terminal, and there we find out the highest authority on the ship is Chu, not the AI, and that she was responsible for brainwashing and the control collars. We are too slow to react as Chu grabs Lucia and offers her to Hwashu as a vessel. Kowloon crew reinforcements appear, and we hold them off until suddenly everyone vanishes. The sand painting Chu had touched earlier was a trigger and sent everyone into Hwashu's virtual mind space. We are found by Chrome and Kamui, who seem to have been led here, and speculate if Chu and Hwashu really have the same goal. We finally make it to Chu, who questions why Hwashu led us here, and Pulau asks why Chu treated the ship so poorly if she was the one who saved them in the first place, with Chu saying she only saved them to serve as material for Hwashu's vessel, and when they couldn't do that, their worth was gone. She begins to frantically scream into the empty room looking for Hwashu's acknowledgement, but the silence is the loudest answer Hwashu could have given. After another outcry, Hwashu reveals itself, and it asks Chu to let them go and to stop enslaving the ship. Chu continues praising Hwashu as the only perfect creation when Hwashu cuts in, telling Chu to stop, but she refuses to listen and commands Hwashu to enter Lucia. Chu takes out her spear, intending to fight us off until Hwashu is finished with the mind transfer. We fight Chu and manage to push her back when Hwashu cancels the mind transfer. Chu cries out, saying if the transfer is cancelled within the mind space, their consciousness will collapse. In a last-ditch effort to save Hwashu, Chu offers her own body for the mind transfer. We then see a flashback of Hwashu speaking to Villier, asking about what it means to be free. When asking why Hwashu wants to be free, it says it wants a hug. Back in Hwashu's mind, Chu enters into a self-embrace and plunges the spear deep into her chest. She admits that despite Hwashu having its own intentions, she ignored them and continued commanding it to test vessels, depriving Hwashu of its own freedom. With this single act, it frees itself and Chu, who had been wholly dedicated to finding its vessel. The ground around us begins to shake and fall apart as the mind space collapses, everyone looking at the figure embracing Chu before the two fade away. After the battle, we discuss the intel we found on the terminal. First is that Chu's name was Wheeler, and that they weren't the true leader of Kowloon. Next is the existence of a base where the Nighter was deployed from. Lucia gained partial control of the ship through the mind transfer and steers the ship to the location of Kowloon Corp. After a while at sea, the fog begins to lift, and standing below the sun is a massive tower surrounded by glowing buildings, and not a single doubt is shared between the group that this is the true Kowloon. On Babylonia, Hassan and Nicola discuss the results of what Grey Raven found in regards to Kowloon Corp. Asimov interrupts, saying they are an organization no less powerful than Babylonia itself, and any plan of action will need to be carefully thought out. They then begin the meeting speaking of a new construct model based on Lucia. Nicola says Lucia isn't stable enough for a new frame, but that's exactly what Asimov wants, and even added to the instability by combining Alpha's ascendant data into the frame. They are both skeptical, but take a look at the data model since Asimov is more than confident on its performance. Nicola is having Asimov work on another side project, a link chamber that will allow commandants to lead their teams remotely. Commandants who can actually use it are far and few between, but Asimov can raise that number if he's allowed to overhaul the current construct models. Nicola asks what he plans to do, and Asimov whispers the answer, with the only audible word being corrupted. Inside an empty church, the Ascendants are gathered together, including Roland, who just recently had his frame repaired, thanks to the gift Gabriel brought back from the space station. Alpha tells him not to lose again, and he replies that he will try. Just then, Luna appears out of a back room and confronts his answer, but smiles and lets it go, easing the tension in the air. They call for another Ascendant, Lamia, to report on her missions, and she was apparently on both Oslam and the Nighter, where she tried to recruit them into serving the Ascendants. They both refused, and now Luna makes her move personally, and orders the Ascendants to make their way to Kowloon, intending to reshape the world as we know it. We see Chrome and Kamui as they first board the ship when the two are contacted by Murray, who is acting as Nicola's agent in his absence. After Murray confirms that he is Lee's brother, he goes over their mission details. The two are searching for any trace of Gestalt-related AI systems, Gestalt being what protects Babylonia from any outside interference and manages their internal systems. Any similar AIs must be confiscated or destroyed to prevent hostile factions from exploiting bugs in its source code. They follow a masked figure and are attacked by the performer puppets. After dispatching the puppets, the masked man confronts them. They do introductions, and the masked man reveals that he is a member of the Kowloon crew, Chao Fang, and explains everything to them the way Pulau did for Grey Raven. Skipping ahead, they wait in a warehouse and discuss how to best approach Chu. They settle on having someone dress up and enter the trade fair, with Murray suggesting Chrome. But before the words fully exit his mouth, Kamui volunteers. When Murray questions why Kamui would volunteer, since he is both taller and broader than Chrome, he gives the most Kamui answer ever of "I would look good in a dress." Chrome waits at the trade fair and sees Grey Raven, who appear to have had the same idea, offering up Lucia as their display product.
You triggered my trap card! Power balance!
Chrome and Murray agree to be the distractions and give Grey Raven the chance to take Chu. The Kowloon crew pursue Grey Raven, while Chrome and Kamui are joined by Chao Fang, who helps them destroy the puppets surrounding them. Inside the mind space, Chrome is back in his childhood home, living an alternate life of what could have been. Here, he is commandant of Strikehawk and has defeated the Ascendants, saving the Earth. A perfect world that he knows shouldn't exist. So he doesn't walk through the door to meet the cheering soldiers, and instead heads the opposite path to become Chrome once more. He escapes the dream, reuniting with Chao Fang and Kamui, when Huashu appears, saying that it is not the real Huashu, only a lesser copy. It tells them they will be reunited with their comrades if they win the fight. Huashu wants to be free, and wants this dream to end, but won't insult Chu's resolve by laying down and dying. Chrome accepts the challenge and attacks, so Huashu pulls out a spear and clashes with Chrome, the fight ending in Chrome's victory. And with its parting words, tells Chrome that the true Huashu is at the real Kowloon. After the fight, they bid their farewells to Chao Fang, and Kamui gives him a Strikehawk medal, saying if he ever leaves the Kowloon crew, there will be a place for him at Strikehawk. Back on the ship, they stand with Grey Raven ready to end this journey traveled by fools who run in circles, chasing their tails like an Ouroboros, ready to face the truth at the end of this false path. Alright, and that wraps up chapter 11. Man, that was crazy. I do not remember that chapter being so long. Like, at the time of recording this, I haven't started editing yet, but looking at these like audio recording times, this looks like it's going to be at least 15 minutes, which is pretty wild to think about. So, thoughts on some stuff. First, if you didn't pick it out, Chu is not the real Chu, it is Veeler. Who is Veeler? We don't really know right now. We'll figure that out later. Second, if I didn't put it in the video, I probably should have mentioned it a little earlier, but Commandant's collar that he had on is a toy. It's fake. That's why Commandant's not like controlled by anyone. I hope it was clear enough, but in case it's not, at the end with Chu like stabbing herself, what happened is Chu gave up like half of her mind for Huashu to live in it, so there was both of them in the same body. But Huashu took over for a moment and killed both of them, so that they could, they could both be free of each other, basically. Yeah, and new characters, right? We got Murray, Lee's brother, and a new ascendant, Lamia, the fish. We like the fish. The fish is funny. Then we had Nicola and Hassan and Asimov talking about that new frame that has like ascendant data in it. That sounds like it's gonna be kind of crazy because Alpha is already crazy by herself. Imagine how crazy like a frame would be if you could have like a regular construct be as strong as an ascendant. And speaking of the ascendants, it seems like they're all moving to Kowloon, so looks like whatever is gonna happen over there is gonna go absolutely crazy. But yeah, that ends all of my thoughts. Next time we will be going over PGR's first major turning point in both plot and writing quality. So I do hope that you will all join me in the next video where we will go over chapter 12, Kowloon Metropolis.